Hey, this is Everett, Everett's Watercolors. Welcome to my classroom. I'm broadcasting live around the world and all across the United States. And I'm in the studio with my wife, Gloria.
Welcome, everyone.
And she'll be monitoring the broadcast and checking the chat room. Let me put the chat room on now and we'll say hi. The chat room's live, and give me some comments and say hi. Let me know where you're from. And if you have any questions, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Now, today I'm going to do more drawing, but just also a small painting with it. As an artist, learning to draw and draw accurately, I think, is a very important skill. And it takes practice. Excuse me. And by practicing every day, you'll get better at it. So what I'm going to do is do what I call a complex subject. And it's going to be a building. And sometimes buildings can be easier, but I picked a subject that's a little bit interesting. And I'm going to show you how I draw a complex subject. And then we'll put some color on it. But I'm also going to use my color pencils. So let's go to my paint table and let me get started. Oh, geez. Okay, this is a reference photo I have. This is a local building here. It's one of the historical site buildings, and I took a picture of this last weekend, and you can see here it's got some complex shapes to it. But I'm going to simplify that a little bit and also show you how I draw that and do a little painting with it. Okay, that's the reference photo. Now, I didn't include a drawing, or I'm going to put the reference photo in my website, but I did a quick drawing of it here, just as an example. This is what I'm going to do. This is on my drawing pad, and I'm going to draw on the watercolor paper. So I'm going to show you how I did it right from scratch. Let me go through a couple things here about what I'm going to use. Last weekend when I took the photograph, I did a quick what do you call it, a little sketch on my travel set, and this is the visual journal I use. So here I did a quick sketch of that building, and give me an idea how I could paint it and so forth. So I'll use that as a guide a little bit. When I transfer a subject like this, I'm going to use my grid. And a grid, this is a 3/4 inch grid, which means each side is 3/4 inch square. And I use this 3/4 inch grid to transfer complex subjects and so forth to get more detail. The grids are in my on my website on my supply page, and they're on there. If you want to care to order those, but there they are. That's a 3/4 inch grid. That's what they look like. It's about a 9 by 12 piece of paper. Okay, now what I did is I took another photograph with my cell phone, and this is what I come up with. Okay, I did a little smaller photograph, but then I put the grid on top of the picture. And what I did was I put the grid, you'll see as I start drawing, I located the grid right here where I thought the predominant shape was. So this forward edge of the building right here is where I put one of the grids, and here in the center, right here. Now I'm not gonna draw the whole building. So what I've done is I'm going to isolate it down. And what I did here, I drew a little square. What I'm going to do about 2/3 of it, because I'm more interested in this section right here, the entranceway and this part of the building, right? That's really my area of interest right there. The other parts of the building are just going to be there, but this is going to be more important right here. So that's what I've done now. I've got the grid on, and I'm also going to cut down the size of the drawing of what I'm going to draw. Okay, so those are some tools that I do to get started. Now, the tools I'm going to be using a little bit today, I'm going to use the C-Thru Ruler. It's a 12-inch ruler gridded by a 1/16 of an inch. It's a regular 12-inch ruler, but it has nice little grids on it, so it's easy to follow. Okay, so I'll be using the C-Thru Ruler, and then I'll be using the General Pencil Watercolor Pencils. Now this is the 24 set that I'm going to use today. I'm going to use not all 24 colors, but out of the 24 set, I'm going to use these colors to draw the lines and also to put a little bit of color on there before I start painting. So these this 24 set of General Pencil is also on my website. So these are watercolor pencils, and I've got some spare ones over here I'm also going to be using. And I'm going to use my regular mechanical pencil. And I've got my plastic eraser. In fact, this is also on my website, my soft eraser. Okay, so what I'm going to do is show you how I get started on this. I'm going to leave this over here. And this is my reference now with the grid on. I'm going to be referring to this. So I'll bring this back and forth. So when I get started, I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to use the just a regular mechanical pencil just to get some fine lines in. I'm going to use the C-Thru Ruler. And go back to a little bit of basics here I'm going to talk about is that this might be easier if I put a tape around this. So I'm going to take a little bit of this white tape, just a little bit. And I'm going to mark off where I'm actually going to work on. So this is the bottom of the drawing, the bottom. And then I'll put another piece of tape over here. This will be the side. That's the left side. And the right side, I'll mark that off. I'm going to go this far. So I've actually got 6 squares across the 6 3/4 inch squares across the bottom. And then I'm going to count 6 squares up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'll be going up I'm not going to see most of that sky up there. Okay, so that's really the boundaries. Those are really the boundaries. Now, if you'll notice, looking at the grid, I've got the major element I'm going to start with right here. I've got one grid line right on that edge of that building right there, and I've got the top. I got this grid right where the grids cross. I got that right at the corner of that building, the top corner of that building right there. So that's how I start. I get a starting point of where I'm going to start drawing. And then I look at the size. I've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 6 squares along the horizontal, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 6 squares from bottom to top. Okay, so that's the size of my area. Now, what I've decided to do, I've decided to make this a 2-to-1 ratio, which means every square here is going to be twice as large. So this is a 3/4 inch square, so each square really represents 1.5 inches. So if I multiply 6 by 1.5, I get 9 inches. So it's 9 inches across here, and it's 9 inches up here. So that's the size I'm talking about, 9 by 9. So I'm really got a square. I'll be using a square, but I'm only going to draw this much of the square as part of the building right here. So that's how I lay out my paper now. I'll take my grid, my C-Thru ruler, and what I do is, the way I guess, this is a 15-inch piece of paper, Gemini watercolor paper, 140 pound. So I know it's 15 inches across here. So I'm going to come in 3 inches. I'm going to come 3 inches to start my drawing, or my area. So 3 inches here, and then I'm going to measure across 9 inches over to here. So that's going to be the size of my square. And then I'm going to come up on the bottom. Now, using a C-Thru ruler, I can use the lines on the ruler to line up the edge of the paper. And then I can go from this is 9 inches across here, and I'm going to measure over. I don't need all those squares. I just need enough of them. So I'm going to use a 3 by 3 square. So I'm going to use 3 inches. So I go from here, 1, 2, 3. That's one. And I'm going to draw a line up there. Go 1, 2, 3, another one, 3. So I'm going to have a line here, a 3-inch, 6-inch, and a 9-inch. So what I'm going to do now is take my see-through ruler. I'm going to line up with the bottom. Okay, I'm going to come up 1 inch up to bring the edge of the drawing up a little bit. Then I'm going to count. I'm going to go 9 inches up. I'm going to draw this line, nice thin line right there. Okay. Now I got the 3 inches here. 3 and 6. I marked those. So I'm going to draw this one up on the 3-inch line. Then I'm going to come over to the 6-inch line. Light line on that one. Then over here at the end, or the 9-inch, all the way over to the 9 inches, I'll draw that line in. Okay, go back here and I'll draw in the other line over here. This is the edge of the drawing over here. Okay, so now I've got a 9-inch. I've got a 9-inch drawing area, and I've got it divided into 3. 3 inches, 6 inches, all the way out to 9 inches. Now I'm going to do the same thing up here. I'm going to measure from the bottom of this line. I'm going to go up 3 inches. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 up to 6. And 1, 2, 3 up to 9. And I'm going to come over here this side. Line it up. I'm going to go up 3 inches. 1, 2, 3, 6 inches. 1, 2, 9 inches. Okay. So now I've got those marked. Now I'm going to go across here. I'm going to draw this line at the bottom, which is 1 inch from the bottom of the paper. I'm going to draw this line in very light line. Then I'm going to go up to the 3-inch mark up here. I'm going to draw that line in. And go up to the 6-inch marker. I'm going to draw that line in. And go up to the 9, which I don't use. This is not important up here because I'm not even going to draw up here, but I'm going to put up this as a reference line anyway. Light line across there. Okay. So now I have actually I have 9 squares. I got all 3 by 3 squares. But now, because I know I'm going to use some halfway points, I'm going to mark little halfway points in here. So I'm going to go down here to the bottom again, and I'm going to mark over. This is 3 inches, a 3-inch square. I'm going to go over 1.5 inches. I'm going to get a halfway point. On this square, I'm going to do a halfway point, 1.5 inches, and here, halfway point, 1.5 inches. I'm going to do the same thing on a few of these other squares. Especially this one here. I'm going to come up. That's the 3 inches. I'm going to come up 1.5 inches. And this one here while I'm here, 1.5 inches. This is the most important line. This is where I'm going to start from. Start at the bottom. I go 1.5 inches. I'll do one more, 1.5 inches. All right. So I got some halfway points on these squares. Okay, now I've got my grid started, and that'll be a good starting point. All right, so I'm gonna put my graphite pencil away, my regular pencil, and I'm gonna pick up a color pencil. I'm gonna draw the building in color pencil, and I'm gonna do it freehand basically to get started. So come to my reference here. The first square. I'm gonna start with this line right here, front edge of the building. From the bottom to the top. And so the bottom area, if I look at it, it's on this grid right here. It's one grid up, which is 3/4 or 1.5 inches, and it goes from there all the way up to, it goes up 3 inches. This is 2 grids, that's 3 inches. So I start here. This is the bottom. I go up 1.5 inches. I already have it marked, and all the way up to this is the 3 inches. So I'm going to draw this line in. So that's the front line of the building, front edge of the building. You draw it, make it nice and sharp. I mean, I can put enough in there. So I'll bring it up to the, so I got that first line in right now. Put that first line in, and I'll bring it up and down just close, let you see a little bit more as I go on. But it's dark enough to see, but I want to make it just prominent there. Okay. Okay, now the next area, I really want to work on this side over here. So the next area is really, I want to get this wall in. This front wall. So I look at where I'm located. This point here is, that's why I marked the heart. It's about halfway down this square here. So that's halfway down. All right, so halfway down, and it's going to be this line here now goes from here all the way up. I got to mark it in. I got to get see one square up. Go half a square. It's here, and it's down about right here. So I'm going to just make a real light line there, and then I'm going to come down, put in that what I call it's the trim on the building. Comes down, and I'm going to come down here on this edge. Now, in perspective, you'll notice that as the building goes back, it goes to there's an angle. There's an angle on the building. So let me draw that in right now, real roughly. So I'm gonna get some rough reference points here. So what I've done so far is I've got it's pretty hard to see. I'm not gonna make it real dark, but I've got the edge of that wall right there on the front, just by looking at the squares. Let's pick another one. Down here, this will come over this way. Now this edge right here is just a little bit over from where I started. So and it's angled down, and it's about halfway up, and so I'm going to mark that in. So that line is going to be down this way, and it's going to angle back. Perspective wise, that's going to angle back. Okay, then this one here, 3. I'm going to try to locate this corner here. So this corner here is halfway over. This corner here is halfway over, which is about right here. Halfway over. Let's see, that's halfway. Halfway over. Halfway. A bit further. Angles up. And that's going to come down. And this perspective on this is going to come this way. It's going to come drop down a little bit like that. And now this one goes back. And this one goes down. Yeah, making these lines in here light because I can still double check everything before I make it final. So I'm putting them in the light there right now. Okay, but I've got this wall. I've got this wall and this wall pretty well defined, and the edge of this corner over here. Okay. Now let's get this side over here. I got this edge. It'll come down. This one starts to go up. And it goes over to the midway point. Okay. Now what happens is that you know, it doesn't have to be a perfect this is not a architectural drawing, but this is just get you into what we're working on is getting the proper proportions and the sizes. That's the most important part of a drawing is proportions and the proper size of each location, so that it doesn't have to be as you know as architecturally correct everything, but at least it should be realistic enough to uh, recognize the shapes. Okay, now see, I'm going to double check everything before. Then I can go ahead and put it a little bit darker. Uh, got that one a little bit too. It's a bit too high there. Maybe not. That should be a little bit longer. Yeah, I think we're going to make some adjustments here. This line here should go. Okay. Yeah, I'm double checking myself here. I'm trying to make sure I got my perspectives right. This is the edge of the building here. I come down, I go over one square. Uh, Probably should come over a little bit closer here on this one. Make this a little bit longer. Just a little bit longer. I'll make a little adjustment on this. And that, yeah, that looks a little better. Then come down. Okay, make a little adjustment on that. And then this one will come down here. Let me double check this. This line goes across here. This comes down. There's a edge of the building over here. I'll bring this down. Okay, it goes up there a little bit. All right. Now, okay. Next thing I'll do the next thing I want to get into is these two windows here on the side. These two windows, and one of them's right in the middle of this section here, and the other one's right next to it. So I start with this one first. It's the larger one, so that I'll locate myself here. It's there's the midpoint. Come over from the midpoint and go up, and see it. Come down, and it's got a little arch to it. Again, it's not going to be architecturally perfect, but it's going to be enough to get the right angle and the right sizing. And the other window is over here. It's a little this side, and it's a little bit smaller, so it has an angle. Comes down over here.
So we have a question, Everett.
Yes.
As long as you get the proportions in sync with each other.
Yes. It's important on a drawing, like anything. If you were drawing anything, is to get proportions and sizes relative to what you're drawing. As far as to make it more not necessarily realistic, but to actually have it look like what you're drawing. This one goes over here. Okay. All right, I got that arch in. There's a big arch over here in the entranceway. This is my main entrance right in this corner right in here. So I'm going to come in and do a little bit off on that. That's in this corner here, so I got to come over this way. This one comes up here. It's a little bit off. A little bit off. But it's okay. This is just a drawing exercise and also to show you how you would apply. This one here is going to go up a little bit on this angle. And there's some side windows over here. I'll put that as a side entrance over this side. And there's a window back here. And there's another window over here, two side windows.
Mary said having to make adjustments is a good teaching tool.
Yes, that's correct. Now I'm going to pick up the black pencil. I drew with a red pencil, but now I'm working up around the rooftop. So the rooftop is dark, so I'm going to use the darker pencil, which is the black. And pretty soon I'll start putting in some color, which will make this come alive a little bit. But right now I'm going to put in the slope of the roof, and this comes up here. Very interesting little rooftop here, how it curves and everything. Now. To get the angle of the roof here, it's pretty interesting because it's this angle here. I'm at 1, 2. I'm at 1, 2. So the rooftop really is about right here. If you didn't have these grids and squares, it'd be pretty hard to follow. Let's see, it's about 1/4. So that's about right. Okay, it's about right. Okay. Then this part of the rooftop goes almost parallel, but it goes up here and it goes. That's halfway. And then it goes up this way. And right above the corner here, it starts to slope off here. This one here. So I'm just kind of drawing these off the edge of the paper. That's why I didn't want to go any further with that. And this one kind of slopes downward at the top of the roof over here. And the rooftop over here on this side will come down. Let's see, I got the only other little tight spot here is to get these little tops of the roof here. So let me get one of those. Let me get a couple of those in. Then we can start putting in some color here. So on my angles here, I've got the 1.5. So I come with 1.5, 1 square and a half a square. Bring it right here. On the inside. Now what I do is I gauge it from the top of the. I'm going to gauge these little dormers here. This is a dormer up here on the top of the roof. So I'm going to gauge the dormer with the location of this window, this first dormer. So I'm going to come up here to this edge of the window that I have. That's about where the dormer would be, about right there. So I'm going to draw that in. And I better pick up a lighter pencil. So I don't want black in there. So I picked up a yellow pencil. The yellow color. You won't be able to see this very well, but I'll just get a point in here. And then these are also. I can also put in these chair or these railings on on the top of these. There's little railings on the top of the rooftops here. I put that in. And this one slopes down over here. And there's a couple of points here there's a couple little points here I can pick out here that help me find different places on this drawing. Okay. Then this one above this, so this was it. So let's go back to the dormer. A dormer, I got the edge of it here, goes up, and I'm going to bring it down about right here. So these dormers line up on this edge. And there's a slope on that which goes up almost to the top. So let's see, I've got that, the halfway mark, I got it. Goes up here. It's hard to see because I'm doing a yellow pencil, but I want to keep it from this angles down. Once I get this first dormer in, then the rest will be a lot easier because they're all relative to that. This one comes over to about the size of this building here, or the window. I'm using the window now as my gauge. And 2. And that'll come down here. Let's see how I'm doing on my rooftop. Rooftop, there's also a railing up in the rooftop here, which comes down. Yeah, that's going to work okay. And it also goes over this way. Okay. So I got the first dormer in. Now let's see, let's get the other one in. I'll get this one comes over to the edge of this here.
Is there a way you can show the picture where you're guiding your finger?
Yeah, it's yeah, I'm following the grid lines, and also these dormers. I'm trying to line them up so they fall into place. So I'm using guidelines of the grid and also the relative location of each one of those dormers in relation to the window, relation to the edge of the railing. So I'm using several pointers here: the edge of the location of the window, location of the railings, and also the relative location of and the angle of the dormers. So I'm trying to get those all laid in, and I'll give a little more detail on this when I get the location. And this last one is overlap over here, and it comes up. I know it's just hard to see sometimes, but this is what you have to do in order. Okay, that's a little bit that comes over that one. Okay, and that one goes down. Once I get these in, I'll go back and explain some other things that I'm doing. Okay. All right, I think I got the rough in. Now I'm going to go back now and put in some of the darker lines so you can see what I've done. Okay, and try to follow me on this. Okay, I started with the lead. I started with the lead line right here, the lead edge of the building right here, and that's this edge right here. And what I did, I followed the grid lines that I had located. I put the grid lines right on those points so I can find it. That's the starting point, and that's the ending point. I just drew the line in, and then the angle was controlled by. I did just a little bit of edging, just a little bit of. No, I know it's perspective wise, it's going away, so it slopes down, and the edge of the building here in the foreground slopes down because it's going away. So perspective lines would direct that line over there. Then this is all going to be brick red. Now there's 2 colors of red here I'm going to use because I'm going to try to simulate the fact that we got shadow over here on one side, which you know, this is my just to make this. I'll start putting in. I'm using the color. I'm using the watercolor pencil now to put in some color here, just to get us started. Then we'll go in with a pencil. I'm roughing in some of the color now, just to get just some reference points here. But this part will be red. I'll use the side of the pencil. Okay, color it in a little bit further. And this, you notice on the going back to the photograph, the windows have a little edge to them. They have a little angle to them also. So I get that in the bottom of the windows, down to the bottom of the building. And I'll rough in the I think as soon as I get the colors in here and get it roughed in a little bit, you'll see a little bit more how I did this construction wise. And this window, this part of the wall now goes away, so it sloped back. The leading edge is where I started. Now this wall over here is in perspective. It leads, and this is the right side of the building over here. And it has a perspective line because it's sloped. And this is all brick, so I'll just put a little bit of red in here. I'm going to use a paintbrush here in a few moments. I'm just going to put the colors in here. What I'm going to use, and then the wall where the building slants away over here. So let me go ahead and put this in real quick.
While you're doing that, Michael said hello and wanted to welcome Roy.
Hi, hello, Michael. Thanks for checking in, and we're in the middle. We're going okay. We're in the middle of doing a complex subject, which I use the grid lines. Use the grid line system to draw this. But now I'm starting to put in a little bit of color. Okay, that's the right side of the building. Now the most important side is over here. So this front side of the building is next to the entranceway, and I think what I did is I'm going to adjust this a little bit because the archway is a little bit closer to this edge on this corner. So I want to adjust this just a little bit while I'm right here. Yeah. Adjust the archway just a little bit on that one. So the entranceway comes in here, and this is the wall that's over on this side of the building, which has this is the entranceway because it sticks out. It comes out here on the left side. And let me turn the page a little bit. I want to get this at the top of this entranceway here. Let's get some color on there. This is the good thing about watercolor pencils is you can just do a quick drawing just to get things started, then go back in with a paintbrush later on. And then this far wall here, it goes in perspective, will fall off in an angle, and also at the bottom. And there's another entranceway over here on the side. We have another entryway here on this side of this little section. It has a little arch to it. And there's a couple windows here also, but these are not that important. They're just to put them in there just to show, just part of the structure. That's part of the windows, and this is all brick over here also. Whole building is red brick. And I guess get some red in there. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and work on the rooftop, and the last thing I'll do is put in a little bit of the railings, what do they call them? So the rooftop now, I'm going to start here at the top corner, right here where I started, at the top corner. I did not put the lamp in there. I think that was a big instruction, not necessary, so I didn't draw the lamp in. We'll just leave that out. So I'm going to start with the darker color of the roof. I'm using black. I'm using a black watercolor pencil. And once you get this in, I think you can start seeing the shape. This part of the roof angles up, and then it goes up here to the top railing. A lot of perspective up here because it's up high. And then the little dormers, I call them, the dormers are down here. Draw that in. That's the little roof. The dormer has a little rooftop on it. And it has a little edge over here. I'll put that in. Okay. So this roof comes up to this corner right here and slopes down. So I'm going to make that one value of black at this point. And then the roof curves around it. Now this side of the roof comes down and it has again a perspective. It slopes down. And this side was in the sun. The sun was shining from this angle over here. So this will be a little slightly lighter so we can tell the difference between the roof. So the roof has a little turn here, a little corner of the roof. I'm going to make that just slightly lighter. So I'm going to separate the rooftop by value. Darker over here in shadow, and a little bit lighter on this side where the sun would be hitting it. And that's not really what you see from the photograph, but I got to make a little bit of artistic decisions here of how I want to show that. So I'm going to show this as a lighter value to show that it's in the sunlight, where the sun is shining more on this side. This is the way the angle of the rooftop slopes down. Okay, now this part of the roof here now, there's a corner here. It slopes down and it comes across this corner here. It hits this one, and then it slopes up almost parallel with that one. And this one is not in direct, well, it's in sunlight, but it's not in direct sunlight. So I'm going to put this one a little bit darker over here. This is separate the angles of the rooftop, which is not that important, but I was just to indicate to myself. And this angle of the roof slopes down. Okay. This roof, there's a little roof on this right side extension. I'm just going to put that in very quickly. Okay. Okay, well that's as far as I go with the pencil drawing. I'm going to go ahead with the brush now. I'm going to go ahead and put the brush work in. So let's go ahead and do that. That'd be much faster. So I'll move away the tape here. So far I've done the brickwork, the dormers. I'll put a little more detail up there, and then the rooftop I put in. And I'll do the edge here with a brush. I'll do the light color areas with a brush. Before I leave this, let's get the dormers in. I'll get those correct. This angles down, and this one comes up. Get that in. This one comes out. And then there's one more down here. There's 3 little dormers up here. Interesting little shape. That's why I want to include them in this demonstration, because these are makes it more interesting to be able to do something little. And that rooftop on that one, and come down with that section, outside action. Okay, there's a little corner of the rooftop that comes off here on the side, so I'll put that in. It goes about right here, the middle of that. So there's a little corner of the rooftop comes down over here. So there's a little detail that you can put in your drawings and also in your painting. Okay. All right. The windows I'll put in with a paintbrush and so forth. So let's move my pencils aside, and we'll get the paintbrush up. And we'll do some quick touch stuff. Put this aside. Okay. All right. Now I had anticipated that a lot of the drawing would a lot of time today would be in the drawing exercise, because getting the drawing down, especially on a complex subject, takes a little time. But now that we've got the rough end, now it's just a matter of going in and putting, as far as illustration purposes, putting a color in here to bring this thing alive. So I'm going to start with the front of the building here. That's the most important part. And this section here is going to be a little darker, mainly because it was a little bit not in direct sunlight, but it was the darkest part of the. I'm going to go ahead and put in at least a little bit of alizarin crimson color. I'm using the 1/2-inch Holbein synthetic brush, which it gives me, as far as doing straight lines and edges and so forth, it's an excellent brush to do that in. So for this architectural piece here, a flat brush is probably the easiest one to go with, because I can get corners. Okay, so I'm going to go down here, straight down, just a one flat stroke here. So I'm putting in the edges of the windows. Now, that watercolor pencil is also working for me, because I got the watercolor pigment on there with the pencil, and that helps me get started on the color. So it's not all watercolor paint, but the interesting thing about watercolor pencils and watercolor paint, it's the same pigment. It's just a different binder. The color is the same. It may be a different composition of the color, because different manufacturers have different formulas for the color. But the point is that the watercolor pigment and the pigment they put in the colored pencils are basically manufactured the same way. The composition of the color depends on the manufacturer's formula. And some colors are different colors than others because different manufacturing processes. Okay, trying to make those windows look a little bit real. Okay, come down with that brush. I'm spending more time. This is an impact area here, or a focal point here, is the entranceway. So that's why I'm putting a little more time on this area. Because the impact area is the show off. That's where you want the eye to go. And this won't be a finished painting. This is really like a painting and illustration. It's just a good practice on, once you get the drawing down, is to go ahead and put a little paint on it maybe. Which is what I did on my plein air. My little plein air study. I was sitting and I drew a freehand, and I went back in with the brush and put paint on it. You know what? As I recall, I was last weekend. As I recall, I did the same thing. I used the colored pencils, watercolor pencils on the drawing, and then I went back in with a brush and filled it in. So that's I'm doing the same thing I did here on location, except I'm doing it here in the studio with a little bigger setup. These outside windows aren't that important here. Just want to get them in. These are in shadow, so it'll be a little darker over here, a little darker red. These are windows on the side, and there was a little entranceway here on the side. So when you're drawing and painting, you can put as much detail as you want into it, where you're doing, whatever you're interested in. That's okay. These windows have a little bit of base here. Okay. Now this side of the entranceway was in sunlight, so I'm going to make it just a little bit lighter values. I'm going to use a little bit of Pyrrole red now, which is a different red, and just to indicate that this is in sunlight, make a little brighter red. It'll show up a little different. It doesn't really show up that much, but it'll be a little different in the coloring. And we're just getting the idea of how to do this now. Okay. All right, now I think you're starting to see a little bit of how this building was put together. Here's another. This was another. This corner was also facing the sun, so I'll put that in the same Pyrrole red over here. And I'll go back to Alizarin Crimson. Alizarin Crimson. For this wall here. Nope. A little more juice. A little more juice in the brush. So my intention is not to completely. I'm going to go far enough along on this so you can see exactly how I did it, and then how a little bit of how it could be completed. But we'll just continue on here a little bit longer here on painting because I enjoy painting. It's okay. And pick up a little bit of Pyrrole red. This is the sunny side over here. There's not much difference in that red value, but it could be modified. Okay, this is the sunny side. Remember, I'm not going. My drawing is going way off the edge of the page here, where I want it to go. But that could be almost like a vignette off here to the side. Doesn't matter. You don't have to be completed. Just go out to the side. All right. Now the top. I'm going to use a little bit of ultramarine blue. Mixing a little bit of ultramarine blue here with maybe a little bit of burnt sienna. Make a nice dark color. And go ahead. Now I got the black pencil up there too. So the black watercolor pencil is going to pop out. So I really don't have to put much color on my brush because that watercolor pencil is already there. Look at that. Woo. That is a black top roof. So the extra black from the watercolor pencil plus the color from the paint really makes it look dark. Over here, I'll get the edge of those dormers. So once I get the dormers on, I think then the picture really starts to look realistically close enough to what I saw and what the picture is that, it's a good example of what you can do with a complex subject because getting those angles and shapes and sizes, the proportion is the most important part of a drawing. Especially if you're trying to make something look realistic, you got to get proportion and you got to get the shapes right. It doesn't look right. I'm going to put these little dormers in, with those nice dark tops. I'm just using the corner of the brush, just like a round brush. Just put that little corner in there and gives me a detail. All I want, all the detail I need. And pick up some more paint. Really, all I'm going to trying to pick up moisture from this palette, just so I can wet this colored pencil, because the colored pencil is doing the job. All I'm doing is adding water to it right now. Okay. And to finish off this, let me get a little more paint. Just a little more paint here. Juice up wet up the paintbrush. Now this angle over here, I wanted to be a little bit lighter because it's in the sun. So I'm going to make this a little bit less pigment on my brush, and hopefully that would show a little bit of maybe a difference in the value. To show that the sun was shining on this part of the rooftop. Just an idea here. Just angled off to the side over here. Again, I'm coming to the end of my drawing over here, so I'm just kind of just phasing it out here at the right hand side. Phase it out. Okay, there's one more dark area. Staying with my plan here to make this darker on this edge. There's little grooves. There's little grooves in the rooftop too, but we're not drawing roofs today. We're just drawing a shape. Okay, one more angle here on the rooftop. A little flat stroke here. Show that perspective. Here, it's very important to show the perspective of the building. That way it gives the dimension, the depth in the painting. The perspective showing that the building gets smaller as it goes back into the background of the painting. Okay. Now, the last thing I'll do is add a little bit of yellow ochre to the railings, and we'll call this one a finished product right now. So let's take a little bit of yellow ochre. A little bit of yellow ochre, maybe a little bit of yellow lemon. I just want a light color. The railings were a light. The railings were a light color, cream color, all around the windows and so forth. Just an idea. I'm going to go ahead and put in some, put a little bit of color. Don't want to leave it white. It wasn't pure white. It was an off-white, like a cream. We'll fill those in a little bit. Those are railings around the edge of the building. I'm not going to put any detail there either, just to show that they were there. So here I just do a simple brush stroke here, showing that the railings on the top of the building here, and then on those dormers, they were also light, not white, but they were off white. Okay. As far as the windows go, what I do is take a little dab of blue. Let's say cobalt blue is good enough. Take a blue color, and this indicates there'll be some glass. So I'm going to put in just a little bit of indication here that there was some windows in this section over here. And there were windows up here in the top. A separate section at the top. There were some windows on the doorway. A couple of windows up the top. And this was open, and there were windows over here. So to indicate there were windows all the way down, this is just a large window, and some over here. Okay. And the only thing I need to finish off is maybe take a little bit of yellow ochre. And there was an entrance way here. Let's put some yellow ochre in there. There was an entrance way here, and there were corners around here were a little bit yellow. White. Okay. Now you could play around with there's I finished the top off up here. There was a railing up here. The top all the way around, basically up there, and there was a little at the very top. There was like a little, I guess, a little top to the building. Just stick that up there for right now. Okay. Well, that's the end of my exercise here on completing this building. As I said, I used the grid to draw it and use the watercolor pencils, some of the colors, and then I went back in and finished it off with a paintbrush. Okay, and we can put a little mat around that. Put a little mat around. I didn't put the sky in. I didn't put the foreground in, but that's what I did here on my plein air sketch. I put in the walkway, and I put it in the yellow ochre and put a little bit of grass on the ground. And I did sketch in the light there, the light pole, but I didn't think that added any interest to the actual design of the building. So I left that out for today. So that was my design sketch from my plein air last weekend, and then this is the studio rendition of the same drawing. Okay, let's go back to my main camera. Okay, you can see there drawing and putting together a complex subject does take a little bit of time, a little bit of planning. But the way my approach to it was, I got the sizes that I wanted, proportional to the size of the drawing I wanted to start out with, and then I used the grid on top of the photograph, and then I was able to locate the important points, reference points of the building that I was drawing, and from there I drew in the lines, perspective-wise, and so forth, and come out with a pretty good approach there to how to draw that. So I that's kind of the way I do on any kind of a complex subject. Would it be a still life, or it would be landscape? I guess even a portrait. I've done some portraits that way also with just grids. So the grid is a good way to transfer a drawing and onto your final paper that you're going to use for your art. So today was an interesting subject. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd like to hear some comments and some questions on what you saw. And I'll be glad to follow up on those questions and help you out with anything you have a question on. It may have been hard to see in the beginning of how I was drawing, because I was using a light pencil. I was also using light colors on the paper. But hopefully toward the end, you began to understand where I was going. I was using the grid line to follow, and then put the colors together on top of that. So I'll be back again next week. Give me a thumbs up and give me a like. And tell your friends about my weekly broadcast on Thursday. I'll be back again next Thursday at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.